What up, family?
I'm Darrell.
And I'm Jeff, and we are DJ Empowerment Group. And welcome back to episode 2 of the Victory Series. We got another amazing story that we get to share with you guys, so we hope you enjoy it, and we hope it touches your hearts like the first one.
Yep, so episode number 2 is about a man who was at absolute bottom. He went through probably some of the roughest times of his life, but with the help of his wife who stood by his side through all of it, his family and his church family, he overcame, and now he's walking into what God has called him to do. Episode number 2 is Gilbert. This was on you.
Let's go.
Hello, my name is Gilbert, and this is my victory story. So I grew up in Southern California, in the projects out in Southern California, and really had a really rough childhood growing up in the projects and gang-infested areas. My parents weren't involved. My dad was a drug addict and my mom was an alcoholic. So I didn't really have that, foundation from home. So growing up, drugs were always available to me. My dad was a drug addict, and it was always available. But I just, didn't do it until after he passed away. Then I started using speed at a young age, and I was doing that. I did that for about 3 years, and that really was bad. That was a bad part of my life, Got a lot of friends that were addicted. Most of my friends are either dead or in prison because of addiction, because of drugs. And the speed was real heavy in California. God would just send me to church and clean up. And then as a human, we always make mistakes. So, it was like an in and out thing for a while there. I would be in church and then I would be on drugs. My uncle moved away from California, and he moved here to Texas with my aunt and some other uncles that I have here. And he called me, and he called me one day. He says, "Hey, why don't you come move over here?" At that time, when I walked away from God, I was using drugs and just not doing all the good things I used to do. So I said, "Okay, I'll go over there." And I ended up moving to Dallas, Texas, and cleaned up, got a job, was doing really well, and then. But the whole thing about God was I left him in California. And I didn't want nothing to do with that. I figured I'd go to Texas and leave God behind in California. God's everywhere. He's not only in California, but he's in Texas too. And so I lived this pretty crazy life. I did my own thing, partied, did my own thing, and cleaned up for about a year, and then met these guys, and they introduced me to cocaine, and I thought I could handle this cocaine. I thought it was, a easy drug, not as hard as crack or, the stuff I was doing in California. So I figured, okay, I could do this. So I started doing that and thinking that I can control it, but no. Within 2 years, the cocaine, it took my life. It basically took my life. It was an everyday thing. I would go to work, I would come home, I would call my dealer, and he would bring it to my house, and I just did it by myself. And I would tell my wife, I would tell her, just keep the kids away from me because I don't want to even be around them. Because when you're on drugs, you don't feel comfortable with people being around you. So I used to tell them, keep them away from me, and that was a big strain on my kids because I was always pushing them away. Didn't really feel comfortable even hugging them at the time, and I would use until the late night, then go to sleep, and then go to work. Just same thing over and over for about a good 3 to 4 years, until finally I hit rock bottom, and God spoke to me. He says, "It's time to go home." I'm like, home? Texas is my home. I'm not going to leave here. I'm going to die in Texas. And so God kept speaking to me. It's time to go home. Got my stuff and I left. And I was driving to California, and God kept speaking to me, go home, go home. And I'm battling with him. I'm saying, this isn't right. What kind of man leaves his family behind? it's not right. But I was still being obedient in what I was doing. But I was still battling with him, like, this isn't right, you know. So it was emotional battle, spiritual battle going on in there. So that first night I pulled over in Ranger, Texas, and I got a hotel, and I had some cocaine on me, and I had a pack of cigarettes, and I got in the hotel, and I took a shower, and I basically, you know, I told God, I said, you know what, I don't want this no more. I don't want this cocaine no more. And so I opened the bag and I put it in the toilet, and I actually slept for once in a long time. You know, of course I've slept before, but just not having that peace. And I had some peace that night, and I slept, and I got up in the morning, got back on the road, and still battling with God on what kind of man am I, because I'm leaving my family behind. I was so drained on the drive that I made it, what, an hour away from California, and I pulled over, and I called my brother. I said, I can't do it no more, I can't drive no more. He said, no, come on, you just got an hour, just come on through, you can make it, you can do it. And I got in the car and I drove. That last hour was just the longest hour I ever had, and got home, and I think I smoked my last cigarette, and then went to church on that Sunday, the church that I used to go to before, and the pastor, man, he was just like with open arms, you know. He's like, man, you know, I'm glad you're here, I'm glad you're back, and this, that. And so it was really comforting that he accepted me like that, you know. And he told me, he says, he told the whole congregation during that time that this was the best year of his life, that I came back. So I went back to church, and then I still have my kids in California, and I basically didn't want to talk to anybody, just wanted to straighten my life up and get it ready. But Tammy kept calling and calling my sister and my mom. Finally, I had to speak with her. Finally, I spoke with her, and she wanted me to talk to the girls. So I talked to the girls for like 2 weeks, and then in that time, there was another girl involved, and I had explained to her that God spoke to me and changed my life. And she's like, no, you're crazy. God doesn't speak to people. I'm like, yeah, God spoke to me. And she says, I really don't want nothing to do with you. You're crazy. So 2 weeks after, 2 weeks after that, I finally started talking to Tammy, telling her that that God spoke to me, and I was just sharing with her my story like I'm sharing now, and she was just taking it like a sponge. And she wanted what I had. She knew there was something different in my voice. She knew there was something different in me, because she knew if I came back to California without God, I probably would have died within probably 3 months maybe. And so that's basically what she was thinking. But when she talked to me, she heard the change in my voice and everything, and she's like, there's something different about you. So finally, something happened in Texas with my daughters and Tammy. They were in a bad situation where they needed to get taken out of that situation. We get to California, and we tell the pastor, hey, we want to get married like today. Today, we don't want to live in sin anymore. We want to make it right and do the right thing. And he said, hold on, let's do some marriage counseling. Let's, just relax. So we did a couple of marriage counselings, and they were basically just killing time so they could prepare a wedding for us. And they had a wedding set up for us. We didn't even know, and they had a big wedding. And they accepted my wife like nothing, with open arms, and it really became her family at that point. And we were there in California at Inland Christian Center for about 10 years. 10 years. And then so, of course, I have another child from somebody else here in Texas. And every year I'd be like, okay, it's time to move back, it's time to move back. And my wife would tell me, did God tell you? And I would be like, no. And she says, okay. So 10 years I'd be doing that every year I'd be saying, oh, we're moving back. But God really didn't speak to me like he spoke to me the first time. So I wasn't gonna do it until I heard his voice. 10 years comes by, and I get a phone call. Actually, it was a Facebook from my daughter. And so finally I talked to her on the phone, and she says that she wants to get to know us and whatnot. And to me, that was like God speaking to me, telling me it's time to move back to Texas. So we packed up everything and we moved here back to Texas, and we started going to a church called New Hope and getting involved in that. And God's doing a lot of things in our lives now that we're moving into the Spanish ministry and stuff. So that's where we're at now. We look back in our life, and we always tell everybody our scripture. Our scripture is Jeremiah 29:11. You know, we love that scripture because it gives us hope. And when you see me and you see my family, I want you guys to think of hope. You know, because that's what it is for us. You know, God's come to make our lives better, and He's done that. So when you see my family, I hope you see, man, God's real. Look at, if God can change me, He can change anybody. And that's the most important thing I want somebody to know is I'm a living and a walking miracle because of my addiction. God came in and took away my addiction, and He set me free. And that's how I feel. I feel free. What I think that somebody could use from my story is that through Christ, all things are possible. There's nothing that He can't do. And if you accept Him into your life, if you ask Him to come and help you change, He'll come and do it. It took many years for me because I was refusing, but if there's somebody that's going through what I went through with addiction, it doesn't matter what addiction it is. If you just ask God to help you, I guarantee you, He'll help you. But you have to be genuine in your heart that you want to change and that you want His help. You just got to be honest with Him and say, hey, this isn't who I want to be. And He'll come in. He'll come in and He'll help you change.
So we truly hope you were inspired by Gilbert's story. You see, we are doing this series for one reason and one reason only, and that's to inspire you to keep going. It doesn't matter what your story is, what you've gone through, or what you will go through in the future. You are not alone. You are more powerful than you ever imagined. You are stronger than you could ever believe. Life is about stretching, challenging, and improving yourself daily. So what Gilbert's story told us was that we could be at the absolute bottom, from doing drugs to not really showing our kids love, but then truly finding God and walking into what He has called Him to do. See, we have to understand that when we hit that place of hardship, it's not over until it's over. As long as you can stand up on your 2 feet, as long as you have breath in your body, as long as you can give God praise, it's not over. Is life going to knock us down? Absolutely, it's going to knock us down. Is it going to beat us up? Absolutely, it's going to beat us up. As a matter of fact, while you land on that ground, it's going to do everything it can to keep you there. But I'm here to tell you this, you are worth more. You are destined for more. And because you know you are, you have to stand up and fight back. Every time life tries to knock you down, you have to tell yourself that I will not stay down there. I will not surrender. I will succeed. We can all learn from Gilbert. It doesn't matter the choices we've made or how hard life gets. God is in control. So guys, remember, please remember, I've told you this before, but please remember this. You have to remember this one, that God did not call you to be a victim. He called you to be a victor. Get out of that victim mentality and go be victorious. Straight up.
As always, guys, thank you for checking out the channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And like we mentioned on the last one, please make sure to share this out to as many people as possible. The goal is to provide content for people out there who've lost hope or feel like they're the only ones going through this struggle. We want to let them know that there are other people that are going through similar struggles to them, so hopefully these videos can help them out. And if you want to check out more content, please go check out our website at www.djempowerment.com. And if you fell asleep on the last video, go ahead and click the link in the top corner for Ariona's story. It's another amazing and strong story to check out. And as always, guys, we'll check you on the next one. Straight up.